Croft. I'm the Impact and Outreach Manager for Oshkosh Area United Way, and we also want to introduce to you our new CEO, because she wasn't at our last meeting, but she's been here in the trenches already. But we have Beth Oswald here today. So we're excited to have her on our team. And then we want to say thank you to Father Carson. Jim, I guess, is here somewhere. So we also have the meeting dates for next year, and there's some small slips on the table in the back where you have your name taken at. So go ahead and take one of those, but we're all set up for our 4 quarters next year. So, and if you would like to present at any of those meetings, there is a sign-up sheet in the back if you want to talk to me about it, what it entails, but it's really just talking about what you do, how you can help each other. As we found in these meetings before, especially Terry can help many of us. Hey, Chris, thanks for being here.
Of course.
So first we have 3 presenters, and we actually have Tim Cody instead of Zach today from Fox Valley Veterans Council. And we have Noelle from Reach Counseling and Sandy from Tri-County Dental. And first we're gonna have Terry. She's gonna come up and you're gonna talk about your innovation grant.
Wisconsin for $1.6 million. And what we have done is we have collaborated with Rawhide, Fox Valley Technical College, and Goodwill. And what we're doing is we are providing 8 different programs that they can, certificate programs through the Fox Valley Tech, that they can get these certificates, and then they are guaranteed employment with a local employer. We provide the wraparound care for up to 1 year after they have completed their training. In the classrooms, we are actually going to have advocates or navigators from Rawhide to help with stress level and stuff. This is mainly focused on people who have an issue generally finding employment and keeping it because of mental illness, because of maybe they were affected by COVID to the point where they have PTSD or something like that. Anyway, I have some brochures here that I would like to give to all of you so you can take a look, and please visit the website on the back and you can see exactly what it all entails. The different courses that they're offering is nursing assistant, early childhood teacher's aide, woodworking technician, pipe trades, welding fundamentals, industrial manufacturing, professional truck driving, class A and B CDLs, heavy duty vehicle maintenance, diesel technology assistant. And this is totally free. So I just want to pass these up.
Cody, President of the Fox Valley Veterans Council. We are a veteran 501c3 charity that services the greater Fox Valley area. So we started out in Outagamie as a little tiny group setting up a memorial. When we set up that memorial, we had money left over, and then we went to United Way and got a $1,000 grant from the United Way in Appleton and started helping veterans in need. It's now grown to about a $300,000 budget over that time period. We're designated as a Community Veterans Engagement Board by the VA. What that means is the VA has given the status because of kind of our unique structure in that our members are veteran organizations. So the Military Veterans Museum is one of our members. Individuals can be members, but the strength of this organization is that the VSOs, i.e. VFWs, Legions, DAVs, Wisconsin Veterans Village, those are all members of us, and then we have the support of their members as well. What that does is that brings an overarching view, conglomeration of veteran organizations, which is really needed, because if you have ever looked around the world, in the veteran world and organizations, you see we're like cats. We're all over the place, right? We have veteran organizations just for Vietnam, veteran organizations just for combat vets, on and on and on and on. Kind of the purpose of this is to bring them all under an umbrella. We maintain a veteran emergency fund, but providing direct support to veterans in need is our charitable purpose. So we do this for basic needs. It includes, but is not necessarily limited to, housing, food, utilities, transportation, tool program, dental care, and other basic needs. And if at any time you have a question, if I'm going too fast, if I use one of those Army acronyms or veteran acronyms that you don't know, please stop me. So how do we work? We identify veterans in need through our websites, our partnerships, referrals, word of mouth, etc. We then validate that veteran status with a DD-214. A DD-214 is this piece of gold paper that every veteran gets when they're discharged. It says whether they have an honorable discharge, a general discharge, an other than honorable discharge, a bad conduct discharge, a dishonorable discharge. Why is that important? That attaches benefits to their service. In actuality, there is an actual federal definition of a veteran that exists, and so we use that federal definition of a veteran, which means one, they have to have at least 1 day on active duty, and they have to have gone out of the Army with conditions other than dishonorable, which is a very weird way to put it, because they're speaking in the negative, but in essence what that means, if they've had honorable service, or they didn't get a punitive discharge, i.e. convicted of a crime and booted out, most of the time they're going to be eligible for services from us. This is our application. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to do this. This is too hard. I know you guys have, a bureaucracy. You're like the VA. This is not true. So if you've ever heard it, this is not true. This is the application right here. That is it. I know we partner with lots of other organizations that have 3, 4, 5-page applications for folks to get assistance. This is all that we require. In order for them to fill this out, they can go on the website, pull it down, and do it themselves. Really, that's probably not going to be most of our people. So they can get help from anybody who partners with us. They can go on the website and do it for them and submit it for them. They can come into our office. I'll fill it out right there with them. They can call us on the phone, which is probably the most easiest in the way we do most of it. They call us up. I pull that up right off of my website. As I'm talking to them, I'm just filling it out. You hit a submit, it goes through our system and goes to our case manager. Takes about 5 to 10 minutes. How do we work? So these cases get sent to caseworkers. We have 5 volunteer caseworkers. They work as a committee. Each caseworker is assigned one case. They take that application, they talk to the veteran. Since COVID had really moved us to telephone and email and everything else, one of the easy things or great things it's done is to sped up the process, because our caseworkers just get on the phone, do email conversations, text conversations with the person they're helping. So it makes it fast. The bad part about that is they don't get to see him much anymore. But that's kind of how it works. That caseworker gets all that information, goes over that application, does a much deeper dive than that application with them, seeing what they really, really need. What else can we help them with? And more importantly, many times, is what can we refer you to? So we just do financial assistance, but we know most people who are having problems with financial assistance have other issues that are driving that, right? And so they have all these things that are bothering them. I'm going to lose my house, I don't have a car, etc. But what other things are putting them in that position? And so we have lots of referral partners. We have an office in Levin. We send folks, for example, to Goodwill for financial counseling, awesome stuff like that. And many times that's one of the requirements for them if they're going to get assistance from us. So that case will make a recommendation to the committee, and then the committee will take a vote on whether we assist them or not. Why is there a vote? Why isn't it automatic? Well, we do have the ability to do exceptions, and so we have flexibility in our bylaws. So we have these rules. You got to be a veteran. We don't have a set financial standard for them, but they have to be in financial trouble, and we have to have some plan that there's a way forward, because we're just not going to put money down the dark hole and it disappear. We're not that big that I can afford to do that. So those are the things they look at. So what might be an issue? So we might have a veteran who qualifies as a veteran, who is in financial need, and they want us to fix their car. But their car takes $7,000 to fix and it's only worth $3,000. am I gonna put my $7,000 into a $3,000 value car? That's a question. I don't know whether the answer is yes or no. That's what my caseworkers do, and they talk about it. I can tell you 10 years ago, they probably wouldn't have done it. In today's environment, you can't buy a used car under 10 grand. So maybe that's the only thing that we can do to get them going. Or maybe if they're on the bus line, I can get them 2-3 months of bus passes while they can figure out another way to get transportation. We just look at different ways to do things to assist. Our assistance provided $1.2 million since we've been formed. Unfortunately, I don't quite have all the 2022 numbers, so I'm giving you 2021 numbers. Record number of 256 vets assisted. Tied record of amount that went out. I have the numbers for Winnebago, because Winnebago was not initially on our screen till 2 years ago. We played around in the areas of Menasha and Neenah, because we used Levin's footprint. That was our footprint. And then we decided to expand down in Winnebago. We were doing about 13,000 4 years ago in Winnebago. We went to 26,000. We went to 32. Then when I had an official move, and when I say official move, I did a memorandum of understanding with the County Veteran Service Office in Winnebago. And we jumped to 50,000. This year we're going to do 70,000 in Winnebago. So obviously there's need down in this county. There's need through the Fox Valley. Our goal is to kind of reach that whole Fox Valley from Oshkosh up to Green Bay and Wapaka County, Calumet County. These are our partners: Levin, Pillars, Snap-on Tools. We do a tool program for students coming out of the vet, out of the tech. So they come out there, they get, let's say, get a degree in diesel mechanic. They get ready to get hired, and they go to get hired, and the first thing their employer says, "What? Where are your tools?" Because they don't provide tools. Those tools cost anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000. Those students don't have it, so we do a tool-free interest loan for them. And agree with Snap-on, they give us a good rate to do that. Cox is also one of our partners. Veterans Village, Tri-County Dental, who is here to talk, and we're expanding that program this year. We're going to have record numbers in that program as well. Any questions? I know in Fast and Furious. Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about how you utilize volunteer case managers?
Sure.
And what kind of background they have?
Their background is they want to help veterans. Quite frankly, that's what it is. So that's how it started out. They have no certifications. They have, what they do is they learn through our own training program, through our current volunteers who have been doing it for years. So we have a set of resources that they know and they use. They get good at talking to the vet and pulling information out of the vet that they need. So in essence, what they do now is they get up on a phone call and they call them up and say, "Hey, I am blank from the Fox Valley Veterans Council. You sent an application in here. Can you talk to me about your application?" And then they just start walking them through, why are you in need? What is the problem? What has occurred? And then they try to reach a little bit further. So for example, we had one lady said, I'm just looking for $200 for a new tire. Who buys one tire for a car? Normally speaking, unless you had a blowout, you have brand new tires. So the caseworker says, well, okay, well, what do you mean just one tire? Well, I got this tire that's bald. You only have one bald tire on your car? Well, the other ones, they're in certain things. So, you're pulling this information out, and you're like, no, we're not giving you just one new tire. We have a agreement with one of the mechanics in town, and we bring that in. He looks at it and he says, no, it needs 4 new tires, and the struts are gone. And so that's a lot of what they do in that sense, just getting that vet to tell them, because vets don't want to do that. They're the most, they don't want to ask for help, and when they ask for help, they don't ask for all the help they need. And it's important that, we know all the help they need, because we have certain rules, like you can only come to us 3 times. So I don't want them asking me in this month for $200, and then 6 months later asking me for another $200, and then a year later for $1,000, when all of it existed at that one time, and they can ask me right there and then. So we know resources for referrals for mental health, for those type of things. We talk to them about that, see if we can get them to go there. Sometimes those are requirements, so some of them have like a gambling habit. One of our veterans, after a long discussion with one of our caseworkers, found out why they had this financial issue, because they had a decent salary coming in. Well, that veteran just decided to send us his bank account, and all we see is everything coming out of the casino. Right? Yeah.
The caseworker or the person handling the case, are they the person who decides whether or not the vet gets the...
No. Then what the caseworker does is it presents it, and they do it over email now, and they just go, hey, this is my case, this is the veteran, here's the issue, this is what I think we need to do, here's the amount of money, I'd like a vote. Sometimes they say, here's the veteran, this is the issue, I don't see in the end, they're not cooperating, they won't recognize that they have substance abuse, they will not go to financial counseling, therefore I recommend that we don't assist. I mean, sometimes that will happen. Or sometimes the case will look in and look at their DD 214 and find out that they have an uncharacterized discharge, which normally means that they never made it through basic, and we'll have a separation code down there which says minor misconduct, lack of motivation, etc. That person normally wouldn't qualify because they don't meet the definition of a veteran because they never served. They didn't make it through basic core. So those are the type of things they look at. Or, so for example, we had a veteran who had a dishonorable discharge from Vietnam. But also when I'm looking at the DD-214, I see a Silver Star, a Purple Heart, a Bronze Star, and several other gallantry awards. So let's pull up the old discharges, because in the military, every time an enlisted person does their enlistment tour, they get a discharge. And if they re-enlist and then do another one, they get another discharge. And then another discharge. And then another discharge, as long as they stay in. The rule is you look at the last discharge. That's the rule. So normally that person, the VA wouldn't help that person, the federal government wouldn't help that person because they had a dishonorable discharge. So we look at these series of DD-214s, and I said, oh, went to Vietnam 3 separate tours. That's 3 tours. Silver Star. Purple Heart. So we make an exception for that person, right? You make an exception for that person because they would not normally qualify because of their dishonorable discharge. So we do have the power to that. That's what one of the caseworkers would do, is they take that and they go, here's the situation, dishonorable discharge, however, 3 other honorable discharges, look at their military service that they've done. I am asking for an exception to our policy, and then there's a vote. So it's always done by a vote of our caseworkers. I monitor the system. I generally don't put my input into that. As the president, I don't want to force anybody's hand. I want the system to work as it is. I will vote if we're down to a tie. I try to always keep an odd number of caseworkers, but I'm not going to turn away a caseworker who wants to volunteer just to keep an odd number. That's kind of stupid. So that's how those caseworkers, that's what they do. And so they put it on, and then they have a discussion. They meet once a month to go over cases and status. Why are things happening? Why are they not happening? Why is it slow? We can turn something around. We turn it around in a day. Normally, the caseworker, our goal is that they contact the veteran within 48 hours of getting the case. Most of the time they do it, I would say 80% of the time they get contact with the veteran within 24 hours of getting the case. And so they're volunteers. Some of them have great employers that let them actually take an hour a day to work in that volunteer position during their work day. Others do it at night, and some are retired and do it at any time. I can tell you, as the emails go by, I see them all night long, and I see them all weekend long as they're doing that, and they're carrying on these conversations back and forth. Well, what about this? Have we sought this? Have we looked at getting, WIRA assistance? What have we done? And so what they do, the caseworker doesn't do it by themselves. They present it, and then other caseworkers will throw in ideas to see how they can help. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. My name is Sandy Drexler, and I'm CEO and Executive Director at Tri-County Dental. I had a great PowerPoint for you that unfortunately somehow did not get saved. But I want to start out by saying what's really, when I talk about Tri-County Dental, I say we are a rainbow unicorn. Does anybody else have young children or grandchildren, especially little girls? They firmly believe that rainbow unicorns exist. And we are an organization that people did not believe could exist because we are staffed by volunteer dentists. And we've existed for nearly 20 years. So when other organizations that are sort of like us talk to me, they say, how do I become you? I always say, a brown horse can't become a rainbow unicorn. You have to start out with this spirit of volunteerism in order to really have it exist and to have it continue. So again, we are very unique in that we have volunteer dentists. We are formed as a volunteer organization, and we will this coming year be in existence 20 years. We are tri-county because we serve Outagamie, Calumet, and Winnebago counties, and we provide dental care usually free to anybody who doesn't have access to it. So when we start to think about it, who knows what the number one reason is that children do not get to school, that children stay home from school? Dental pain, thank you. It's kind of a gimme, right? So when you start to look at it, you go, as you're a child, if you have tooth pain, you are probably not paying attention in school. You're not doing well, or you're not coming at all. So absences and being sort of absent as you are there lead to someone not succeeding in school. So we have a program for our children. And with our children, we provide all their care for free. We also have a really cool thing. Not only do we have our freestanding clinic that's in Appleton, but we have a mobile clinic. And our mobile clinic is 40 feet long, 13 feet high, and it has 3 full operatories. So we can do everything in that mobile clinic that we can do in our fixed site clinic. And Oshkosh Area School District was the first school district that we started coming to. About 31% of the kids that we see are from Oshkosh. When we start to look, we really appreciate Oshkosh Area United Way's funding because 7% of our funding comes from Oshkosh. So as we move forward, that's one of the things we'll be looking at is how do we increase funding from here because so many of the kids that we serve are from the Oshkosh area. We are in 13 different schools down here. We focus on elementary schools. And the reason for that is if you get children early and hopefully develop good habits, they are more likely to be successful in school long term. So we have a lot of kids who I had a great picture of June. When June came to us, she was about 8. She had 7 different fillings that we had to do and 2 extractions that she needed. So of the 20 teeth that she had in her mouth, 9 of them needed care. Who likes going to the dentist? Usually people are like, don't like going to the dentist. Well, this poor child, I was sitting there going, okay, 2 extractions, I've only had my wisdom teeth taken out. It hurt a lot for a number of days. Like this poor kid had 2 extractions and 7 fillings, and she still ends up smiling at the end. So our goal is to get her having a healthy mouth and to keep that mouth healthy so she can succeed in school, so she can go on then to maybe further her education and then to be financially successful and stable as an adult. So again, when we look at our children, that is our main focus because again, we believe we can go upstream by getting kids early, giving them good care now and having them sustain that for life. All care again for children free, and we have the mobile clinic that goes to schools. If a child, for example, isn't able to or needs more care for whatever reason and needs to get up to our fixed site clinic, we can also arrange transportation. So a lot of times if we, for example, take a bus to a school when there are lots of kids who need care, if there aren't enough kids who might need the mobile clinic there, we'll just get a mobile minivan and then arrange for them to be driven up. So really exciting that we can do this. Each year in Oshkosh, we serve about 2,300 kids. So giving lots of kids care there. Our next program that we want to talk about that Tim referenced before is Operation Dental Care, our program for veterans. And again, we provide care there totally free, and it's income qualified. So anyone who has been honorably discharged and is at 200% of federal poverty or below can get our services for free. We did increase the amount of the financial qualification, and with that we're able to see a lot more of our veterans, which we're really excited to be able to provide. And we had featured in one of our in our annual report actually that you have in your tables story of Bob, who had been coming to us, who is 97. He just passed away this week, and as he was in hospice, his family called us and said, we want you to know that he is at the end now at 97, but we so appreciate the care that you provided that we wanted you to know that that's where he was. So the care that we can provide to people is very important to them. And then our other one is our Weatherby Orthodontic Program. And that program is for kids who need braces. Betty Weatherby was the donor for this fund, and she said, I know that a lot of people don't have the self-esteem that they could otherwise have that prevents them from doing as well as they could. So I think one of the pivotal things for her was that she went to a store and the clerk there had bad teeth, so it was always like this. And she was saying, why is this person always like this? And it turned out she had bad teeth. So Betty said, I want to be able to have kids feel self-confident. I want them to be able to smile. So children who come to our clinic regularly, do very well with their checkups, need that orthodontia, can get the orthodontic care, again, basically for free. We provide about half the costs. The orthodontists who volunteer for us provide the other half. And the children can come out with great, healthy smiles then. The other service that we provide for, I would say, like all the rest of the adults in the world, is we can do emergent dental care for them. So as we start to look, there is so much dental need. We can't take care of everyone, unfortunately. So what we can do is for people who are in pain, adults who are in pain, they can come in. We provide walk-in services 2 times a day. We encourage people to get there at 7:45 or at 12:45. They can walk in and then be seen depending on what's going on. So if they have something that needs to be addressed right away and we have a dentist there who can do that for them, we'll take care of that right away. Or if it's something that needs to be addressed but maybe not that day, we can then schedule them out. So one of my goals is to get us to a point where we can start to do hygiene with adults as well, so that we can give preventative care for people so that we don't have as many emergencies. As we look at the care that we provide for children, we initially saw about 10% of our emergent cases being children. That's down to about 2%. So we know that when we do preventative care for people, the emergent cases come down. So a long-term goal is to get us taking care of people, adults, earlier so that they don't need as much of our emergent care long-term. So high level, those are our services. What questions do people have? Yes?
When you send the mobile unit out, how do you figure out where, when, how, all of that?
So we go to 7 different school districts,
Okay.
and I think it's about 70 schools within those school districts. A lot of it is where's the greatest need, where we end up partnering with school secretaries to do this, as well as all the social worker and the school nurses. Because one of the big barriers for us is getting the parents to fill out the permission slips. So Tim was talking before about a barrier being, okay, you have to fill out this paperwork. Because we are basically a medical organization, there are a number of things that have to be filled out. So part of it is, how many people can they get qualified? Do they have enough kids qualified for us to bring the mobile clinic there? What kind of need is there? So again, need is really high down here, which is one of the reasons that we are able to get down here so much and care for so many kids. A lot of it's just accessibility too. Like we try to schedule so we'll have, when we take the mobile clinic out, we always have volunteer drivers who actually drive the mobile clinic someplace, and then our staff take a van to get there. Is it someplace where we can go and see a day's worth of children? Or do we maybe have to try to go here and then here and then here, which makes it a little bit more of a barrier. So a number of different factors.
Awesome. Well, I know I introduced myself earlier, but my name is Noelle Fenwick. I'm the Associate Director at Reach Counseling Services. And for those who don't know us, I just wanted to give a little brief overview of who we are. So our vision states that we envision a socially just community that prioritizes and empowers healing for all impacted by sexual violence. And our mission is, we are really a sexual assault service provider for children and adults, and we offer culturally responsive outreach, victim advocacy, trauma counseling, prevention education, and sex offender treatment. And as an anti-violence agency, we really strive to heal lives and transform communities. And then these are a little bit newer to us. They were developed just under a year and a half ago. And these really guide our daily work with each other and with clients. So we use these cultural values whenever we're talking strategy, as well as just day-to-day interacting with clients. And those values are respect, empowerment, accountability, collaboration, and healing. And then on these next couple slides, I'm going to go through our 4 main program areas. So our advocacy program, counseling, prevention education, and sex offender treatment. And so last year we were able to serve just over 7,100 people, and we are looking to exceed that number as we're starting to evaluate our 2022 numbers. So first, to start off, our advocacy program, which I would say is probably the most common way people know about REACH, is we are really ingrained in the with other community partners when it comes to our victim advocacy program. Something that sets us apart that I always like to point out is that we're really intentional about our advocacy team so that we break down as many barriers as we can for survivors who are coming forward. So we do have a lot of different culturally responsive programming within this program. And so that includes programming for the Black community, the Latino, Latinx community, the Southeast Asian community, LGBTQ. Just notice I just missed one. We also have an Indigenous Peoples program that's not on there. People with disabilities, as well as a specific advocate for victims of trafficking and exploitation. And all of our advocates really provide wraparound care for survivors. So for medical advocacy, that often looks like showing up at the hospital day or night. There are 2 forensic programs in our area, Aurora Medical Center in Oshkosh and Theta Care in Appleton, which is a 24-hour forensic department. So when a survivor comes to either the police or the hospital seeking a forensic exam, they're sent to one of those locations. And our advocates, with the help of our volunteer advocates who help provide that 24-hour coverage, will show up at the hospital, provide support for those victims, making sure that they feel supported and empowered and they understand that they're in control throughout the process. And then moving into legal advocacy, so that's often the first time that they encounter law enforcement if they would like to report. However, we're also there for every other step in that criminal justice process, all the way towards, which we aim for, is post-conviction. So helping them understand what each court date means, helping them understand the timeline that it's going to be, setting expectations, and keeping them empowered throughout that process. As we know, the criminal justice process is not always the kindest to survivors and can be re-traumatizing. So we do everything that we can to kind of mitigate that and be that barrier to them. And throughout both these processes, obviously providing personal advocacy, emotional support. They're not licensed therapists. I always like to make that clear. It's not the same thing as therapy. However, it's that immediate emotional support, so immediate symptom alleviation, or talking about positive coping strategies to deal with triggers and different emotions that come up. And of course, we refer to other community resources such as yourselves. We recognize that survivors aren't just coming through our doors with trauma, they also may be dealing with housing insecurity or food insecurity. So we do make sure our advocates know the breadth of resources across the Fox Valley. And we also have a case manager as well that works with the therapists and the clients through the therapy team, and co-teams that up with the advocacy team to make sure that we are aware of all the resources in the community. And I do have basic needs assistance listed. There is a caveat to that. Obviously, we're not a basic needs organization, and we refer to Levin, AdvoCap, all of our resources whenever appropriate. However, there are some special circumstances, specifically like with the Latino community, where they might not be able to access the same wide array of services as other survivors. So we do have some funds set aside for those special circumstances where they just don't qualify and can't get support elsewhere. So a little bit about that advocacy program. We're projecting to come right up to 450 survivors served through this advocacy program. We do regularly survey these clients to make sure that they feel they're receiving adequate care. 71% of those 450 feel safer and more secure after receiving advocacy advocacy services. And 100% of our support group attendees feel more supported and socially connected after attending group. And then a little bit about our counseling program. So our counselors are really highly trained to support survivors of abuse. So all of our counselors are certified in numerous modalities of trauma counseling for children and adults. We do serve typically 4 and up. However, sometimes we do make exceptions for younger. Just depends on the scenario, the maturity of the child, things like that. We have been struggling with the wait list, as I'm sure every mental health agency in the area has been. However, we are really fortunate to see that starting to go down. Some of our new hires have received their licensure, and so that has gone down. At one point, we were looking at 6+ months out for therapy services, and now we are down to 3, and it's continuing to go down. Obviously, we can't throw a full caseload at new therapists, so they're slowly incrementing up their caseload, and we're hoping to get that down to 2 months or less. So this year, we're projecting to come just under 300 survivors served through this program. 81% of the survivors served by our counselors are reporting significant improvement in their symptoms related to the abuse they experienced. And on those surveys, 95% are reporting that it was their counselor and the counseling that they had gone through that had helped them heal through their traumatic experience. And then prevention. So we have 2 full-time prevention educators and youth and teen advocates, 1 part-time, and then 2 interns as well that help cover this program. And so we are in 70+ schools across the 5 school districts in Winnebago County, providing prevention ed from 4K up to senior year in high school. And so right now, as we're starting to look at our numbers before the Christmas break, we're coming at just around 6,800 students receiving prevention education programming this year. And something that is somewhat new to this program as well is that we trained our prevention educators in youth and teen advocacy. So what we were finding is that youth and teen survivors specifically may not know that they're a survivor of abuse until they sit in on one of our presentations and realize, oh, this happened to me and that's what it's called. And then they come forward to disclose. So then that educator who they've already started to kind of build a rapport with, who's giving this presentation, can then walk them through all the other steps in the process after disclosing abuse. And so of those 6,800 children, 80 of those are projected to receive youth and teen advocacy as a follow-up from those prevention education presentations. And then finally, our sex offender treatment program. So we do have 2 therapists who specialize in sex offender treatment. We are really proud of this program and the impact that they make in the offenders that they work with. We're really working to go upstream and prevent recidivism in our communities. So right now we have a 7% reoffense rate over 15 years. And compared to the national reoffense rate of 31%, this does make us one of the most successful treatment programs in the state. Even more impressive, 0 of the juvenile offenders who have successfully completed our programming have later shown up in adult offender records. So we're really proud of especially of the program of a whole, but especially that juvenile programming to help them break that cycle of abuse and move on into adulthood in a violence-free life. This program has really seen some rapid growth as well. We saw over 50% from 2020 to 2021, and we're getting pretty close to that same percent increase from 21 to 22. So this year we'll have served 40 adults and 17 juvenile offenders. And so the exciting news is that we are expanding our programming beyond Winnebago County into Outagamie and Calumet. We received a grant from the Wisconsin Department of Justice to support this initiative. So we are rapidly hiring. We have 8 new positions that are opening up right now, 3 therapists, 2 prevention educators / youth and teen advocates, 2 regular victim advocates, and then 1 part-time marketing position to really help us spread the word that we're serving these 2 counties in addition to Winnebago. We have secured a second office in Appleton, and it's on the corner of Richmond, not actually College, but you can see it from College. It's the Richmond Street Terrace. And if you know where Diverse and Resilient is now housed in Appleton, we're actually gonna be suite mates with them, so we're really excited about that. And so there's definitely gonna be an increased collaboration there as we work with the LGBTQ plus community. They also have really tight ties with the BIPOC community and making sure that we're serving all survivors in those counties. And while we receive funding from the federal government, which we're really fortunate to receive, we recognize that the need in these two counties is greater than what we received. So we are running a fundraising campaign that launched on Giving Tuesday to help us to support the expansion of our services. But all in all, we're really excited to bring all 4 of our programs to the Tri-County area. And so really exciting stuff. I did not bring pamphlets with me today because with this expansion, there's a lot of change happening. However, once we have those reprinted with an update on our services, those will definitely be widely distributed as well. And that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yeah.
So with the expansion and the positions you have open, obviously staffing is a concern across the board. How challenging is it to find therapists and appropriately licensed staff?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're having really great luck with prevention ed and advocacy. Definitely a lot of interest there. And the exciting thing is that there's a lot of overlap there. So if someone maybe interviews for prevention ed, doesn't make the final cut, but we also have these advocacy positions and seeing if they want to funnel in there because they are very similar in programming. So that's been going really well. Those 2 leads have been finding great candidates. Therapy's challenging. It's really hard to find folks who are fully licensed and who want to stay in nonprofit because a lot of therapists left for private practice or left the profession at all because of the pandemic, and that's